In this video, I'm going to be discussing boundaries, why it is so important to have personal boundaries, and some of the boundaries that I established for myself to protect myself in the dating world and while getting to know people. So, boundaries is your shield, right? Your shield from toxic people and toxic cycles. And when you don't have that shield, when you don't have boundaries, or you're not sure of your boundaries or clear of your boundaries, then you tend to be susceptible to users, abusers, narcissists, people that want to come into your life to use you for their own gratification, and they don't actually love or respect you at all. So boundaries is something that protects you from toxic cycles. We can't prevent ourselves from experiencing anything toxic, right? But if you have boundaries for yourself, then these toxic behaviors do not have to continue in your life weeks and months on end. You may have one toxic experience with someone, and because you stand so strong on your boundaries, that may be the first and last that you have to deal with. We learn our boundaries through relationships. We learn what we like and what we don't like, what we'll accept and what we won't accept. And we have to go through some type of pain and turmoil to finally take our boundaries serious, right? We can think in our head, well, I'll never let a guy hit me, or I'll never let someone disrespect me, or I'll never, do this and I'll never do that. But we don't really know what we'll do until we're actually in that situation. And sometimes our codependency gets the best of us, and we find ourselves allowing people to disrespect us and allowing people to call us out our name and yell at us and belittle us just so we can have companionship and romance. So I learned my boundaries through relationships. I learned my boundaries through being completely fed up. I learned my boundaries through being hurt, through being betrayed, through being taken for granted. I had to learn through the pain. But instead of letting those negative relationship experiences put me down or completely destroy me, I alchemized those experiences, turned them into lessons, and now I use that to build myself up, build my self-esteem up, and make me feel strong and powerful. And now I feel untouchable, right? And I know I'm not completely untouchable, because sometimes I may feel, I don't know, I'm never gonna think that I am 100% healed or 100% perfect, but I know that my boundaries are 10 times stronger now than they were even 2-3 years ago. All right. So when you defend yourself, when you have your back, and when you stand on that, when you stand on your boundaries, that helps your self-esteem, and that helps your confidence. You build trust for yourself when you stand on your boundaries. When you don't defend yourself, when you don't cut people off for your peace, when you don't stand on your boundaries, you subconsciously lose that trust for yourself, and you feel weaker, right? You feel more exposed. You're more susceptible to toxic people. An example of that is, let's say you have a best friend in class, and Y'all know each other like the back of y'all hand, and you feel like you can trust this person, and you know this person has your back, right? Or at least you think they do. In class one day, this person decides to start bullying you. They decide to embarrass you in front of the class, and now the whole class is laughing at you. And that one friend that could have had your back, that one friend that could have fought for you, is now joining the sheep, right? The sheep of the class, and laughing at you too, because you're an easy target in that moment. They don't defend you. They don't, they don't have your back in that moment. And that shocks you, because who you thought that person was to you, you're now realizing you have to be that for yourself. You instantly lose trust in that person. And you learn the hard way that you have to be your own bodyguard, and you have to protect yourself, and you can't rely on anyone else to do that for you. The same way you lose trust in that person, in that scenario, you lose trust for yourself when you don't stick up for yourself. Another example, if you were touched inappropriately or talked to inappropriately by, someone that was around you, and you expect your parents to be there for you. You expect your parents to defend you, have your back, handle that situation for you. And let's say, God forbid, they don't handle it. Let's say they think that you're delusional, or they call you a liar, or they just completely just don't defend you. You're no longer going to look at your parents like your protectors and your defender, right? You're going to lose faith in them. You're going to lose trust in them. And you realize the hard way that you can't even depend on someone you thought would have your back to protect you. You realize that you have to do it for yourself. And, it's hard. That realization is hard. But that's what life teaches us. It teaches us to have thicker skin. It teaches us to protect ourselves and not rely on anyone else for our protection or our happiness or our validation or our anything. So the same way you would lose trust for that friend that didn't defend you, or that parent that didn't defend you, you lose trust for yourself when you don't defend yourself. The more you allow people to mistreat you and disrespect you, the more you subconsciously feel like you kind of deserve that. The more trust that you lose for yourself. You lose that strength that is within yourself when you don't defend yourself, when you don't cut off toxic people, when you don't stand on business about yourself. So, one boundary that I have personally, that I learned that I have to have, and that is a non-negotiable, is no disrespect. You're not being mean to me. You're not being mean to me. You're not disrespecting me. You're not calling me out my name. You're not belittling me. You're not yelling at me. Any form of toxic disrespect, I do not allow in my life. I know that I'm not going to introduce that type of behavior in a dating, situation where I'm getting to know a guy. I'm not going to introduce belittling. I'm not going to introduce yelling. I'm not going to introduce disrespect. So if you introduce that to me, to my life, to our dynamic, unprovoked, we're done. We're done. It's a wrap. There's nothing to talk about. Because every time I've let someone disrespect me once, it happened at least 10 more times. In a relationship, when I allowed my ex to yell at me, before we even reached 30 days in the relationship, it happened at least 30 more times. When I allowed my ex to belittle me and throw women in my face, it happened 5 more times. When I allowed my last, ex whatever to put his hands on me, it happened 5 more times. When I allowed him to disrespect me and still be able to come in and out of my life and receive my love, my energy, and my resources, it happened like 50 more times. Sometimes we think that just because we show someone grace or forgive someone, that they're going to appreciate that gesture and change their ways. No, you're just enabling them to continue that pattern over and over and over. I used to give chances. I don't give chances no more. I give you one opportunity, because I know that I'm not going to mess up our relationship by disrespecting you. So if you do it to me, I clearly mean nothing to you. You clearly don't respect me. And that's fine. I'm not going to work for anyone's respect. I'm going to get out your way. I'm going to get out your way. I used to be so in my pride and so in my ego that even after somebody rubbed me the wrong way, I used to try to get them to like me. And I used to pour even more into the relationship just so I can turn it around in my favor. I don't do that no more. I'm straight path of least resistance. I do not fight for people's love or respect anymore. Fighting for people's respect got me nothing but being more disrespected. Seriously. Because if someone doesn't like you, they never will. If someone secretly hates you, that's not going nowhere. No matter how many times you forgive that person and allow them back in your life. If someone secretly envies you, that's not going to change. Just because you gave them a chance to do it again, to disrespect you again? I told this story in another one of my videos, right? This story of this guy that I was friends with. We were friends. We found each other attractive, but that was never really expressed because we connected by helping each other get through our breakups. So we used to talk about our partners and our actions and stuff with each other and help each other through it and heal through it. So we weren't talking about dating at all during this time. Like, we were literally helping each other heal, right? So he never took the initiative to let me know that he wants me to be his or he wants to take me on a date or anything like that. I thought we were just platonic. So that's how, I perceived our relationship. So one day I go to this lounge and I'm with my homegirl and her friends and her family, and I'm celebrating with them. I think it was like one of their birthdays or something. And he was already outside. So he texted me and he was like, hey, where you at? I'm about to pull up on you. And I told him where I was. And he pulled up and, I gave him a hug and stuff. But at this point, I'm single. I'm not going to sit here in this club and act like your girlfriend. I'm not going to, what I'm saying? Like, I'm just going to live life, be single and mingle because I'm human, So he ends up leaving the club. without, letting me know or telling me bye. And the next morning I texted him and I was like, hey, I was like, you left and you didn't even say nothing to me. Like, where'd you go? Like, I was just starting casual conversation. And this guy sent me back a long projection text message. And he was basically like, oh, I don't chase women. You're not going to have me chasing. I don't chase no woman. I only chase Allah. And he was basically like insinuating that I was being hoish, right? That night he met up with me. And I'm like, wait, pause. First of all, I can't be hoish if I'm not doing anything sexual or I'm not doing any ho-ish type of activity. So what are you talking about? Number two, I'm not even in a relationship to even be judged for doing anything ho-ish. So I told him, I'm like, listen, I didn't do anything with any of those men in that room. I don't even know her family like that. So, slow down. You know what I'm saying? Relax. Like, I'm single. I didn't know that you wanted me to be all up on you, or you wanted to, I don't know what you wanted, because you never really expressed that to me. I thought we were just friends. So he goes, you right. If you never did anything with any of those guys in that room, you may not be a hoe, but you could still be a slut. Oh, what? That was the first and last opportunity I gave that man to disrespect me and call me out my name. That night, our conversation ended peacefully because I was really trying to understand his perspective. Like, I was thinking maybe he felt played, maybe I should have read the room a little better. Maybe I should have, I don't know, considered whatever. But the fact that he couldn't communicate how he felt to me without disrespecting me and belittling me, I blocked him. And that's the last time we spoke. I valued my respect more than I valued our friendship. Because was it really ever a friendship if you're willing to speak to me that way? Wisdom taught me that you only need one chance. Wisdom taught me only give people one chance. Because if I'm not disrespecting you, why would I allow you to disrespect me? Just because you felt some type of way didn't give you the right. Didn't give you the right to speak to me that way. And if you do it once, I know you'll do it again. So me blocking him and never speaking to him again, it empowered me so much. It made me feel like, yeah, I got my back. I got my own back. I don't need anyone to tell me to cut this man off. I don't need anyone to tell me how to be strong. I cut this man off and I felt so empowered. I felt so proud of myself. That's what boundaries does for you. It empowers you. It builds your trust for yourself and your image of yourself. I felt strong in that moment. And because I never went back and I never rekindled our friendship, I still feel strong. So another boundary, that I established for myself and that I clearly communicate to men is we not finna be yelling or arguing. You're not going to yell at me. And if you do, it'll be the first and last time. I met a guy that I clearly, expressed these boundaries to in a casual way. It wasn't forceful or anything, but I told him that, one of my main rules, my first rule is you can't be mean to me. There is no cussing me out. There is no yelling at me. There's none of that. I had enough of that in my last relationship. Rule number 1, to date me, you can't be mean to me. There's no yelling at me. There's no disrespecting me. There's no calling me out my name. There's no throwing women in my face. There's no belittling me. There's none of that. And thankfully, because I really do like him and I don't want to cut him off, thankfully, he respected that boundary and we haven't had problems since. In my last relationship, we argued within the first 3 weeks of us meeting. With this new friend that I have in my life, we've been knowing each other, getting to know each other for 2 months. Not one argument. Not even a little bit of disrespect. Nothing. And we've been through situations where that could have happened. We've been through situations where an argument could have transpired, where I was triggered and he was triggered and names could have been thrown out. People could have been disrespecting each other, but because he had that respect for my first rule, and I know that I'm never going to disrespect him first. I know that. Our relationship has been harmonious. And I'm so grateful for that. And I know that I have to be strong enough to be willing to let go of someone, even if I really like them, because that's my kryptonite. Just because I've already envisioned myself with someone, just because I already told them that I love them, I used to allow people to disrespect me. But now I have the strength and the self-love to be able to walk away, even if I feel like I'm in too deep. There is no in too deep. We either respect each other or we just don't. You either love me for who I am or you just don't. You want to speak to me with respect and you want a harmonious, peaceful relationship with me, or you just don't. And I'm going to get out your way before I go back and forth. I'm going to get out your way before I fight for respect. I'm going to get out your way before I fight for you to see my value. So we go through a lot of no's to get to one yes. And even after that yes may become a no. Never settle though. Never settle. Dating is a numbers game. The more people you meet, the more you're exposed to, the more opportunities, You might go through 20 no's before you get to one yes. And that one yes may be a no after 6 months. And then you may go through 5 more no's to get to a permanent yes. But you just can't settle. You cannot settle for people disrespecting you, calling you out your name, yelling at you, controlling you. You cannot settle for that. No relationship is worth taking that. And, me being brave enough to even tell this guy my boundaries, because he could have not accepted them. He could have been like, I ain't finna deal with that. You playing hard to get, he could have took it anyway, but he decided to respect that, and we've been peaceful ever since. Can that change? Yes, it can change. I can get triggered and I can disrespect him. And if he decides to cut me off, then I have to respect that. I would just have to respect that. Right now we're good, but in a year he could do something so foul to me, and I would have to have the strength to be able to walk away, or we would have to have a lot of conversations, and there would have to be a lot of accountability and a lot of making up to do, but either way it goes, I'm standing on what I want for myself. And nothing is just going to slide. Like, as far as giving people chances, I do believe in giving more than one chance. For the heart that I have, I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of hard to cut people off after the first offense. I've done it and it felt great and I'll do it again. But, for someone that I'm dating and that I really care about and that I already feel in too deep with, I already know that that's going to be hard for me to do. But I know that I love myself enough and I respect myself enough to where we're not even moving on until there's full accountability and until you fully earn my love back. Because I know I'm not going to disrespect you. I know it. And if I do, cut me off. I know I'm not going to yell at you and call you out your name. And if I do, cut me off. Because I'm not going to allow that to be done to me. So, when you're at home, write down some of your boundaries. What will you never allow someone to do to you and still be around you? What would you never allow someone to do or say to you in a relationship? And once you're clear on those things, say them. Get used to saying it. Get used to bringing it up in conversation, just casual conversation. Let people know what you can never get away with them. And they will be more, inclined to follow that rule, to be around you. But I realized that when you are getting to know people and you come off as, open-minded and easygoing and flowy, people will try you. They will test the waters with you. They will test to see how far they can go with you. So it's better to just establish your boundaries in the beginning and see who in your life respects that and who has the privilege to stay in your life. I would rather repel 10 guys that don't respect my boundary to find a good man than pretend like I don't have boundaries in order to not scare people away and just be mistreated behind closed doors. Or continue to subject myself to these toxic relationship cycles over and over just because I just want somebody there. All right. So if you are not subscribed to my channel already, make sure you go ahead and do that. Turn on your notifications. I'll see y'all in the next video. And if you have any topics that you want me to elaborate on, then comment them below. See y'all later.